Hi everyone, back today with another video. This video is about my tailoring build and what I would do if I got a chance to build it again to maximize the amount of gold I'm making. A couple of people have asked for these kinds of videos, and I'll make a quick one for anybody interested in that here in this video. I just thought I'd give you a quick mailbox open for anybody who's interested to see how fun it is to open the mailbox after that 40-minute session I did in the previous video, actually, about making gold on the auction house. If you didn't watch that video and you're interested to see how I made this much gold, click on the link and just check it out. So if I had a chance, and I'm going to talk, I have a tailor and an enchanter. And in this video, I'm going to specifically talk about my tailor. I will make an enchanting video, so check that out if you're interested. But this one is just about tailoring. If I could start again with my knowledge points to maximize the amount of gold I make instead of haphazarding my way through the beginning of the season where I had no idea what I was doing. I hadn't really done it in Dragonflight. So I was totally clueless about how the whole knowledge point tree worked. And I was just putting knowledge points into anything. And that was once I realized I had them. I'd been hoarding them for ages and did nothing with them, not realizing they were useful. So this is a short video on what I would do. So we'll just head over to the tailoring table for those cool tailoring aesthetics. If you're unsure about how to get knowledge points for your tailoring, definitely check out the patron orders. If you've got the craft sim add-on, it will tell you which ones make gold and which ones don't, which ones leave you in deficit. You might choose to be in deficit just to get the knowledge points, but definitely check it out if you haven't done it already, because that's how you're going to build the bulk of your tailoring points to be able to specialize in these areas. So in tailoring, we have four main areas: the threads of devotion, the dawn, from dawn until dusk, quality fabric, and textile treasures. And you'll need a little bit from each of them to maximize what I believe to be the best crafting build for gold making. So from the very beginning, you want to be putting as much effort as you can into textile treasures. What this allows you to do is to actually collect the cloth from just humanoids, essentially, across the new content, the War Within content. So you really want to get that to max as fast as you can, because once it's maxed out, you collect more cloth, and you need the cloth to make things. It's just that simple. But also from a gold making perspective, you can sell your surplus, and that's a good way to get funding while you're doing this. Deciding what you want your build to be. Some people go down the concentration build, and that's good, I think. If there are a lot of public orders, and at the moment there really aren't, they've died off a bit. I think there's going to be a big boom of those the beginning of season 2. But at the moment, for the next couple of weeks, the safest place to be putting it is in resourcefulness, in my opinion anyway, is in resourcefulness, specializing on being able to get materials back when you make things like bags, when you make things like the pioneer gear, when you make the accessory gear and those things. Being able to get materials back is what's going to maximize your profit. There is some areas that let you specialize in improving the multi-craft, and I just don't think that's a good build right now, not for tailoring anyway. But you can see here, I just showed you before, making the bolts at the moment is, it's a negative. You don't make gold for it. You're better off selling the raw cloth on the auction house and then buying the bolts back off the auction house in terms of gold loss. So I think multi-craft might have its place, and I could be wrong. Let me know in the comments if I'm wrong. But I think for tailoring right now, resourcefulness and then ingenuity is the way to go. If you've got extra points later, yeah, put it into multi-craft, because it might be possible to make gold off creating like the Duskweave bolts and the dawnweave bolts and getting the multi-craft proc there. That could be incredibly helpful. But if I could do this again, I would specialize in the resourcefulness. And that, just as a note on resourcefulness, when you do those patron orders and when you make the public orders or the private orders that you get, if you're spec'd high enough in resourcefulness, it can increase the profits you get from there. If the patron orders, as an example, are supplying the regents you need, if the resourcefulness procs, you get to keep those regents even if you didn't supply them. So if it's taking 20 exquisite weaver cloth to make an item on a patron order and it's supplying it, you might proc the resourcefulness and get 4 to 5 of those back, and that can make a really big difference profit wise on some of those things. Don't depend on the resourcefulness proc when you're making something. It's just a nice bonus when you get it. So don't make patron orders hoping for the proc to increase your profit margins. Make the orders because you think it's a good idea and then be excited when it procs. But it has definitely been a way to increase the amount of gold I have, because then I can go and use those regions to make other things. So the next thing I would look at is dawn till dusk, that tab there, and the middle item, that basically learning that the first specialization allows you to collect either Duskweave or Dawnweave. You get to choose. My recommendation is to choose Duskweave, because at least on the Oceanic servers, Duskweave sells for a lot more gold than Dawnweave. So just check your auction house before you make that decision and pick the one that sells for the most gold. That's what I would do going forward. On my server, I would definitely pick Duskweave. The ability to collect that, it sells for much more than the Dawnweave. And to be able to pick the second specialization, you need to get all the way, you need to invest 30 points in that first knowledge point tree there to be able to select the second one, to be able to collect the dawnweave. If you can put the knowledge points in there, it's definitely a good way to maximize the raw gold you're making. If you've looked at my Weavercloth dungeon farm and you've seen me do that, being specced all the way out in this really helps, because I'm collecting additional cloths. And that can make a really big difference. Also, being able to make the other items that you learn with the Duskweave and the Dawnweave gives you more patron orders to do, but you're able to also fill more of those public orders. A lot of people want the consecrated cloak and things like that, and the Dawnweave threads, and you want to be able to make those things, so consider investing there. The next decision is a more difficult one, but from a raw making gold perspective, quality fabric is the way to go, because it increases the quality of the fabric you get from humanoids. You now have, once you spec in this, you have the ability to collect silver and gold quality fabric. And if you've checked the auction house, the gold level fabric sells for substantially more than the other two. The silver level items are fitting more where they should be. For a while there, the silver level items were actually cheaper than the bronze ones. I don't know why. It was really good for me, who hoarded a lot of it, but I don't know why it did that. But it's specking in that so you can collect those higher level stuff from a raw gold making perspective is really helpful. I don't think the other ones are really too much to look at. You can see here I put talent points into weaving and unraveling. I wouldn't do that. If I got a chance to redo it, I wouldn't do that. We've seen before that bolts and that aren't making that much gold. In fact, in most cases, you lose gold making them. You're better off selling the cloth and then buying the bolts off the auction house rather than making them. So I wouldn't spec into that. It might change. I don't know. I don't know if it will. It might change though, but for the moment, it's a dead end for me. It would have been better for me to put my points into other areas early on, rather than going in the direction of making better quality bolts and getting more out of that cloth. I haven't really dabbled into embroidery. What I can tell, it doesn't make too much gold. I could be wrong. I don't have access to the gold level stuff, of course, because I didn't spec in it. Let me know in the comments if that's a direction I should be looking in, but I don't think there's a whole lot of gold to be made there at the moment anyway. So when I said the next part was a difficult decision, it's between the quality fabric and the threads of devotion. So the threads of devotion is good in the sense that it enables you to make so much more, and being able to make more gives you more access to those patron orders, which can make you gold, but they also give you the chance to get more knowledge points to put into other things. You will level up faster doing it this way. If you want to level your ability to get these knowledge points as fast as you possibly can, the threads of devotion is the angle you should be looking at after the first two we talked about. If you're just purely here to make gold, do the quality fabric. But if I was to do this, I would do the threads of devotion and then the quality fabric, because being able to make all of these things gives me so much access to leveling my tailoring, which is really good. But it also allows me to make like the pioneer cuffs, the pioneer gear, and the patron orders and the public orders when they come through at a higher level without concentration. And if you've watched my other videos, I make a lot of gold out of selling the level 71 pioneer gear, and I just make that at max level, because you can see here I've filled out a lot of these areas. You can see the first 4 bubbles of the knowledge tree are filled out, and that allows you to make that lower tier level stuff at max level. I prioritize the cloak because the consecrated cloak is probably the most popular order that pops up in public orders. So I'm anticipating a high need for that in the next season. And then I'm trying to build up my other areas. So where I am at the moment, building up the other areas, is purely about being able to make those orders without using concentration. So that's where I'm at now in terms of gold making. It's not raw gold anymore. I'm for this to make profit, I'm depending on people to place orders. And I think there's going to be a lot of that come season 2. It's died off now though. So if you're starting now, prioritize by starting in those other areas I talked about before. The next thing I want to talk about is don't be afraid to buy recipes. So you can go farm these things and you can spend time doing that, but it just depends if it's a thing you like. So some of these recipes you need to get from dungeons and other things. Some of them require the artisan's acuity, and those are pretty easy to get, but just go buy the other ones. Just go to the auction house and buy them. They cost a lot of gold, but if you've been watching my other gold guides, I more than show you how to pay for those. And then once you purchase them, they pay for themselves. So don't be afraid to buy the recipes, particularly the PvP ones. They sell for a lot. Like if you just keep a couple on the auction house at a time, you will make a few thousand gold over the course of a week. But you do get the PV public orders. They come through quite often, and not very many people have the recipes. So you get a bit of a monopoly on it. You don't have to rush to be the first to get that order filled, because people aren't willing to pay 9 or 10,000 gold to have the recipe. Not a lot of people have the recipe to make. And because of that, because people who want that order need to encourage you to fill it, they have better tips. So quite often I get 2,000 or 3,000 gold tips for making those orders, and you can pay back buying them just by doing those tips. But if you don't want to buy them, I've made a couple of videos on how playing the game in war mode makes you a bit of extra gold, but also how it enables you to collect these recipes yourself. So go and check out those videos if you're interested in not paying for them on the auction house. Full disclosure, I bought them off the auction house because I didn't know about the war mode thing beforehand. The war mode has the disadvantage of you can't control what drop you get, so you might end up with something that's blacksmithing when you really needed leatherworking. But I suppose on the upside, you can sell the blacksmithing recipe and use the gold from that to buy the leatherworking one. So it's up to you what you want to do there. So you can see here on the auction house, there's quite a lot of recipes. You can select the current expansion so you're not confused by all of the other stuff from everywhere else. And you can even select only show unknown. And I'll show you that. I have all of these recipes already. But you can see here the gold to outlay to buy these is quite substantial. It's not too much. I made enough gold to buy almost all of these just in the mail open at the beginning of this today. And I made that in 40 minutes. So check out the other videos if you're unsure about how to get this much gold. But if you're not somebody who wants to farm these recipes, do consider buying them because you will make back the gold pretty quickly. That's really all for this video. I hope you found it interesting or helpful. And if you did, give it a subscribe. And a special thanks to my mini goblins, Heretic666, Hallowed Be Thy Game, Brit Malaka, and Psycho Teddy. I hope you guys are enjoying getting this content early. Go and enjoy building your new tailoring builds, and let me know what options you would go with if you choose to do something different in the comments. As always, remember, girls don't play WoW.